Back at the Apex for UFC Vegas 94 this weekend. We're going to break down every single fight on this card, and I will give you my prediction for each fight. Now, I want to kind of reiterate something that's been what I thought was commonplace, but in these videos, I'm going to make a pick on every single fight on this card, but I'm not necessarily betting on every single fight on the card. And something I've learned in the time that I've been placing bets on MMA is that oftentimes the best skill to have is knowing when not to bet on a fight. So this is a tough card. There are a lot of tricky fights. I do have some bets on this card, but also knowing when not to bet on a fight is one of the biggest keys, because you can make 10, 15 awesome bets and then miss out on a couple of really bad spots because you placed a bet that you shouldn't have, and it just either kills your profit or you end up turning a losing night because you bet some stuff that you shouldn't have bet. So keep that in mind when we're going over these fights. I'm not betting every single fight. I'm picking my spots. If you want more information on that, the link to the Patreon is in the description. I do post my bets there, but as well as some other links in the description. Check all those out. But if you don't care to hear my bets, that's great. Make your own decisions. I'm here to provide you that information. But if you do want to see my bets, I usually post them. Actually, I always post them on the Patreon at the link in the description. Heavyweights, and a matchup between a couple of guys that are real similar in kind of where I see them in the division. We've got Thomas Petersen, 3-2 in his last 5. He's taking on Mohammad Usman, who's also 3-2 in his last 5. So outside of just the last 5, I think they're very similar in where they fall in the division. So this matchup's going to kind of let us know who's going to basically get cut pretty soon, or who's going to kind of stay there at that just like better than the not so good heavyweights and just not good enough to really get anywhere. That's where I see this. So Thomas Petersen, good wrestling. He's got a good body lock takedown, pretty good ground and pound. He's vicious when he's on top. But the striking is odd, right? He's got decent striking, I guess, decent straight punches. The dirty boxing's pretty good, but he just kind of tucks his chin and just charges in with strikes in order to close distance, which that's not what you want to do against Mohammad Usman. Why? Well, because Mohammad Usman, dude's first off a freak athlete, but he's got decent striking with a ton of power. He does only throw single shots, and his volume is usually pretty lacking. But if he hits you while you're just trying to come in and just swing wild, he's probably going to drop you. On the other side, he's got the wrestling. He's got decent takedowns, but the cage push and just being a freak athlete, he's very strong. He'll push you up against the cage and just wear on you for rounds at a time. So, although I don't think super highly of either of these guys as far as their ceiling in the division, this matchup is interesting because it's neither one really has shown us a lot, and neither one really does anything to stand out. They're both probably going to win some, lose some in the UFC. Ultimately, I'm going to have to side with Mohammad Usman because I think he's going to cage push a lot here and just wear on Petersen against the cage and win more minutes. So I'm going to take Mohammad Usman. Just pass on this fight, guys. I'm going to tell you now, just pass on this one. Women's bantamweight division, where Luci Pudilova takes on Luana as she moves up to bantamweight. For Pudilova, 3-2 in her last 5. The same for Carolina in her last 5 fights. For Luci Pudilova, she's a decent striker, decent volume. She's got pretty good power. For a women's bantamweight, she hits pretty hard. Good clean straights, and she really kind of ends up in brawls, which I do think favors her in this matchup if she can make this fight into a brawl. Some matchups, maybe it doesn't. This one particularly, it does. So we're going to say that's more of a plus here than a minus, but it can go either way in fights, so we put it as either. Now, decent wrestling. She's got pretty good takedowns, good ground and pound, good top control, but off her back, she is a fish out of water, and she really struggles to improve her position from her back. So good on the top, poor off the back. Her takedowns are they're all right. They're not amazing, but if she does get the takedown, she does have pretty good top control. Now, when we look at the other side, Luana Carolina, now take into account that she is now moving up to bantamweight. She's a good striker. She's got good volume, and she has pretty good striking defense. She's usually able to land more shots and not get hit very often in these matchups. She's able to hit her opponents, use her length, whatever, stay out of range. Now she's fighting bigger girls now, so that could change some, but I do think that the striking defense will probably hold up a little bit here. Very good tie clinch, very good knees and elbows in that clinch. She transitions well from at range to in the clinch, does a good job with that. And her takedown defense is pretty good, and it's been improving every fight. Now, you see the asterisk here. It may be different now that she's going against bigger girls, so you got to take that into account. Usually she's the one missing weight and being the much larger combatant in the cage. In this instance, she may not. She's going to probably be at a slight weight disadvantage to Pudilova when it comes to like actual in the cage at that time. So that is something to take into account. However, how I think this fight's going to go, I think this is a rough matchup for Luci Pudilova, and I think Luana Carolina is going to win the first 2 rounds. In the 3rd round, I think Pudilova is going to start putting it on her, but I think she's going to fall short of getting a finish, and she's going to lose 29-28, and that hurts me to say that because you're not going to find many people who are big Luci Pudilova fans. I am. I like Luci Pudilova. Big fan of her. When I saw her come back to the UFC, I was excited. But unfortunately, I think this style is going to be a tricky one for her. I think she's going to have a hard time, landing the big shots without getting hit. I think Carolina is going to be able to use her volume, use her clinch work, and avoid most of the takedowns until that 3rd round. So for me, I unfortunately have to go with Luana Carolina, but I'll be rooting for Luci Pudilova, and if Pudilova wins, I'll be thrilled. So let me know what you guys think, and I'll wait next for Loik Radzhabov taking on Trey Ogden. Ogden's 2-2 in a no contest in his last 5. Should be 3-2. It is what it is. Watch the fight back to understand that a little bit better. 3-2 on the other side for Radzhabov. When we look at this fight, Trey Ogden, good striker, good jab, good volume, decent leg kick, and he keeps a nice high guard. He just stays kind of safe on the feet, does enough to just, cause some damage to the opponent, not really get hit a lot. He just kind of does just enough in the striking. Similar to how he does his grappling, right? The guy's got good takedown entries, good top control, and he likes to look for the choke, specifically that arm triangle. He's one of those guys that's really just good at managing a fight, doing what's needed to win, good fight IQ. Probably should have wrote that up there. Good fight IQ. Trey Ogden's I think he's improved quite a bit ever since he's become the primary coach at his gym. So Trey Ogden has looked great as of late, and I think that's a lot of that comes from the fact that he's been coaching at a high level, and he's using a lot of the things that he teaches his students in his own fights, and that's helping his fight IQ, and he's doing just enough to get these wins in every single fight. On the other side, for Radzhabov, good striker, good forward pressure, tons of power, got a good step-in knee, but he makes things wild. So the opposite of what a Trey Ogden will do. He's going to turn fights into a brawl. He's durable, but he's just going to eat leg kicks, doesn't care, just wants to swing bombs at you. In the grappling department, he's got good wrestling, pretty good takedown defense, but he's got good takedown volume. The problem is he struggles to hold his opponents down. He does have good ground and pound while he's down there, but part of that's why he struggles to hold opponents down is because he just starts swinging with these big, heavy bombs, and that gives the opponent a chance to shrimp out, get back to their feet, do what they need to do to escape from bottom position. He's a very fast starter, though, and I think that if that quick start can overwhelm Ogden, he can get the win. But if it doesn't, and Ogden's able to stay safe, I think Ogden's going to take over. And ultimately, I think that's what's going to happen. I think Radzhabov is going to come out early, have some big moments, but I think Ogden's going to weather the storm, start landing that leg kick, accumulate some damage there, maybe get some takedowns of his own, and I think Ogden's going to cruise to a decision in this one. We're going Trey Ogden here. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next. Flyweights here, where Dione Barbosa steps in on short notice to fill in for Tracy Cortez, who was moved to last week's main event. So Barbosa steps in. She's 4-1 in her last 5. She's now fighting Miranda Maverick, who's 4-1 in her last 5. Maverick, originally training for Tracy Cortez, is now training to fight Dione Barbosa, and that's what we're going to get. So for Barbosa, she comes in off of a win where a lot of people thought she lost, but it was close, right? I mean, it was clear she won the first round, clear she lost the 3rd round. It was the 2nd round that was a swing round. A lot of people thought she lost that, but it was close enough. The judges gave it to her. So she's 4-1 in her last 5, much like Maverick. When we look at Barbosa, good striker. She's got the power advantage in this matchup, I do believe, and she's got a very fast 1-2. Now, she's more of a grappler than she is a striker, because the grappling, that's where she gets it done. She's got good timing on her takedowns. Her takedowns are more trips and throws because she's got kind of like a judo style of takedown. But you could see her kind of work some wrestling takedowns in. She doesn't do it very often, but it's more of the trips and throws. She does have good top control when she gets to the mat, and she's got a very slick arm bar. So keep that in mind, because we got Maverick over here. She's a good striker as well. Decent, I guess. Maybe I teeter between that one, whether she moves up to the good category or not. She's clean on the feet. She's got good clean punches, clean kicks. Her kicks are actually probably better than her punches. She's got good counters with an overhand, but she seems a little bit slow when she's punching and kicking. I don't know. It looks good, but it's just a little bit too slow for me. So the faster striker and the more powerful striker is going to be Barbosa, but I think the cleaner striker with the better counters, better combinations is probably going to be Maverick. So it depends what you're looking for, I guess. Wrestling department. Maverick is a very solid wrestler, a very powerful double leg. She's got a good cage push as well, and she can work some really good takedowns from there. When she gets on top, she's got heavy top pressure, and she also has a pretty darn good arm bar. Now, here's the deal. I am going to have to side with Maverick, and the reason why, yes, I know she's a pretty big favorite, but also because Barbosa, she slowed down quite a bit in her last matchup, and now she's taking this one on a short notice. We know Maverick's probably not going to slow down. The girl's got a good gas tank. She can keep going. She's the younger fighter here. She's still in like her 20s, like 27 or something like that. So for me, this is a matchup where Barbosa's live early, but I don't think she's going to get the finish over Maverick, and I think Maverick's going to take over in rounds 2 and 3, and I think the judges are actually going to give it to her in this one. So Miranda Maverick is my pick. Let me know what you have. Next matchup, we have Brian Kelleher taking on Cody Gibson in the bantamweight division. Now, both of these guys, 2 and 3 in their last 5 fights. Both of these guys kind of in the later stages of their career. Gibson and Kelleher have both been in the UFC twice now. For Gibson, though, he's much taller and longer. He's 5'10 with a 71-inch reach, as opposed to Kelleher's 5'6 with a 64-inch reach. When we look at the Gibson side, we'll start there. He's got good striking. He uses that length very well. Now, although he's willing to back up, he's got a very long jab and good teep kicks as well. He's pretty durable. Got to add that in there. I didn't write it up there, but I got to add that as well. He's a durable, tough guy. Even if he's moving backwards, he's still landing his shots. Good grappling, very solid wrestling fundamentals. Good back taker, and he's very active from his back if he does get taken down. On the other side, we got Kelleher. Kelleher is a pretty good striker as well. He's got good combinations, and he's got those really good leg kicks that we saw in the Cody Garbrandt fight before he got knocked out. Good grappling. He's got very good scrambles. The guillotine. He's got a good guillotine, but here's the problem. His takedown defense sucks most of the time because he's going for a guillotine, and then when he gets down to the mat, he's really looking for subs rather than trying to get back to his feet, so that could be a problem for him in a lot of matchups if he doesn't secure that submission. For me, this is how I see this going. I think Cody Gibson's going to take a decision, and the reason why is I see on the feet, even if he's backing up, he's going to be landing, and he's going to have the reach, so he's going to land first, and he's going to land often. Then I see Kelleher kind of jumping for a guillotine at some point, maybe more than once, and I see Gibson being safe enough on top, avoiding the getting choked with the guillotine, doing what he needs to do, and then once he gets on top and is nice and safe, Kelleher's going to be looking for submissions, just giving up minutes while Gibson's doing just enough, landing some strikes, some decent ground and pound, just enough to keep the ref from standing him up, and he's going to start chomping away minutes as the top side fighter, and Cody Gibson's going to win a decision. That's what I see happening. But let me know what you guys think. The line is a bit wide. I understand that, so maybe this is one you just watch. Sit back and find out, but let me know. And this fight right here is another reason why I think this card is going to be one of the better cards as far as action-packed fights. This fight here in the featherweight division, Jeong Lee comes in 5-0 in his last 5 fights, takes on Hyder Amil, who's also 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Well, he's also undefeated at 9-0. This matchup here, for me, this is going to be fireworks from start to finish. Let's start on the Jeong Lee side. The guy is a solid striker. We saw it in his last matchup where he absolutely just destroyed Blake Builder. So he's got fast combinations, rips the body, plenty of power. He puts his punches and kicks together in combination, good movement, and he can turn fights into brawls, and that he kind of thrives in that situation. He's fighting another guy that also thrives in that situation. We're going to cover that in a minute. He's also got slick grappling, though. He's got good takedown defense, good ground and pound. He really looks to pick his shots. He doesn't just unload with a flurry of shots. He picks his shots, lands a big heavy shot, waits for an opening, lands a big heavy shot, conservative with his energy, but he lands hard. He's also got a very good arm bar. That is his specialty as far as submissions go. On the other side, Hyder Amil. This guy starts super fast. He's probably going to turn this fight into a brawl as well with his aggressive forward pressure, power, durability. He's going to put together combinations. Decent grappler as well. He's got very powerful ground and pound. He likes to catch kicks, and that's how he'll get the fight to the mat. And then he also has a really good body kick to the downed opponent that he uses frequently. Not many people use that frequently. Khalil Roundtree is another name that comes to mind that's willing to use that. It's a risky maneuver because if you accidentally hit him in the face, you could lose on DQ. Hyder Amil just throws that body kick like he just doesn't care. The problem that I see for him is when he does get taken down for Amil, sometimes, actually most of the time, he will give up his back to stand up. I like that he's trying to get back to his feet. It just can be risky against somebody that's a good grappler. Ultimately, for me in this one, this is a good fight. This is going to be a blast from start to finish. But I got to side with Jeong Lee. I think he's a more complete fighter. I think he has a better skill set for this matchup. And I've just been really impressed with him. So Jeong Lee is my pick, but let me know what you guys think. And like I've been saying, this card is full of bangers. And you know what would be a real banger is if you hit that like button for me. I know that was cheesy as heck, but I do appreciate it. Please scroll on down, hit the like button on this video. It goes a long way in showing your support for the channel, but it also helps my videos get discovered. And if we get discovered, guess what? We can get better production quality, better sound quality, better visuals, all sorts of good stuff, because as the channel grows, it benefits you guys. So please help me out by just doing that simple thing and liking the video, and that will help to grow the channel so we can do all those really nice things. There you go. Do your part. Let's break this down. Bill Algeo, 3-2 in his last 5. Ho Choi, 1-3-1 draw in his last 5 fights. Banger of a matchup, guys. Banger of a matchup. When we look at this, Bill Algeo, good striker. He's got plenty of movement, good volume. He can fight from either stance, kind of with that karate style. Really good front kick to the body. And he makes fights dirty, whether they're like kind of like not like a really like a brawl, like a slugfest where you're just trading punches, but just gritty and a lot of just, yeah, it's just, he makes fights chaos sometimes. He's pretty durable typically. I understand he got knocked out in his last fight. We all know it was kind of a little bit of an early stoppage. The guy was still up on his feet and all that good stuff, but he was getting pieced up by Kyle Nelson. It is what it is. Kyle Nelson's been looking great lately, so, you know, but Algeo was still in there, so the durability is still okay. Good grappling, decent takedowns, but he's got very good scrambles, and when he's on the mat, he's incredibly active, whether he's on the bottom, whether he's in top position. He's just always doing a ton because he can outpace and out-cardio most people at 145. That cardio is very, very good. On the other side, Ho Choi, good striker, very, very powerful striker. Good combinations. That 2-3 is probably his best move, and that's what he puts a lot of guys out with. That 2-3 is devastating when he lands that. He's got a good clinch as well, good knees, good trips from the clinch. Decent grappling. It's basically just ground and pound after he trips him with the clinch or knocks him down with the hands. That's what he's got best, and it's that killer instinct that makes Ho Choi so good. When Ho Choi, when you look at him, you're not like, oh, this guy looks like an absolute killer. He's got like that little smiley face, you know, he looks happy in there, you know. He's got that like really nice, you know, clean cut haircut. Dude goes in there, he's an absolute killer. Absolute killer. So for me, what I see here, I see either Ho Choi winning by knockout or Bill Algeo either picking up a really late finish or a decision. For me, I'm going to side with Algeo, but there's probably a way to play both sides depending on how the lines come when we get some props. However, I've got to side with Bill Algeo. I think he's got more decision equity, and I think he can get a late finish. Although Ho Choi could put him out because, like I said, we saw him getting rocked and wobbled by Kyle Nelson, Bill Algeo that is. And if Kyle Nelson can rock you, so can Ho Choi because that man's an absolute savage. Let me know what you guys think. I'm siding with Algeo in this one, but I'd love to hear from you. Matchup at flyweight that should absolutely be fantastic. Both of these guys always show up and put out a great performance, high output, all that. So this is going to be a good matchup. We got Bruno Silva, 3-2 in his last 5. He's taking on Cody Durden, 4-1 in his last 5. Now, the one thing I don't like is doing tape study on Bruno Silva, the flyweight, because every time you type in Bruno Silva anywhere, you get Bruno Silva, the middleweight, and you got to just keep sifting through and try to find everything. If anybody knows a better way to differentiate between the two Bruno Silvas as far as search results go, so you can just get all the flyweight Bruno Silva to show up at the top, let me know in the comments. I'd appreciate it a ton. Now, so for Bruno Silva, 3-2 in his last 5. And yes, I did do the tape study. It just takes longer to scroll through and pick out the good stuff, right? Because he doesn't fight that often. That's the problem. And we're going to go into that more in a little bit, as that he doesn't fight often enough. But Bruno Silva, dude's a good striker. He's got good forward pressure, good power, very nasty kicks, whether that be the front kick up the middle, the leg kick, the body kick, doesn't matter. He's got nasty kicks. Good lateral movement. He does spin a little bit too much for my liking, but it is successful when it lands. So it's not really a negative, but it's not really a positive. So the frequent spinning, it could go either way. Take it or leave it. Solid jiu-jitsu. And by solid, I mean like it's very solid. The dude's got slick transitions. He will not accept bottom position. The guy's looking for scrambles, looking for sweeps, looking for submissions, all that. But he's not just accepting bottom position and just like throwing up triangles off his back and hope for the best. No, that's not how he does it. He is very quick to attack submissions, though, and he's extremely opportunistic in doing so. On the other side, we got Cody Durden. Dude's a wrestler through and through, right? He's relentless with his style. Good takedowns, tons of volume, and he just chains the takedowns. He's got good takedown defense as well, and he has a pretty good sprawl. Now, when it comes to the striking, it's set up by the wrestling threat. He's got a good overhand because it comes off the fake takedown. Good forward pressure. Decent power for a guy at 125 pounds. And he's also got pretty good dirty boxing. You know, he can push up against the cage, get in tight, start ripping shots to you. He's got a high motor, and he starts fast. These two things right here help him win fights where other guys just you know, they're still getting into the fight. You know what I mean? And he's already started. He's already been going 100% since the bell started. So for Cody Durden, these type of things can give him an edge over somebody that maybe starts a little slower. But he also just keeps that pace up through the entire fight, whether he's tired or not. So that high motor mixed with the fast starting, that is something that can win him minutes in fights over guys that just typically don't have the ability to put out that kind of output through exhaustion. This is a tricky one, okay? Because for Bruno Silva, he's the type of guy that would typically beat a Cody Durden style. Because this is a hard matchup for Cody Durden. Because how does Cody Durden lose? He gets subbed. Who's likely to sub him? Bruno Silva. This guy's fantastic at snatching up necks, right? Take your back, get you in a rear naked choke, guillotine, whatever. But so if this matchup was a Bruno Silva that had been fighting frequently, I'd be very tempted to play Bruno Silva. However, he doesn't fight very often. The long layoffs. I have a hard time picking people off of long layoffs because if you just look at the history of it, they don't seem to perform super well. Some people do. We're not talking about GSP coming back and winning a title after multiple years off. We're talking about Bruno Silva, who's a really good fighter, don't get me wrong, but he's not one of the greatest of all time. So I've got to side with Cody Durden to get this one done. I think he's going to get a decision. I think he's going to get a lot of takedowns. I think he's going to land some good shots up against the cage, doing that dirty boxing. And I think he's going to be able to land some pretty good overhands off the fake takedowns. But I think he's also going to land like 10, 15 takedowns in this matchup, and Bruno Silva's going to scramble his butt off. And we're going to have a really good back and forth fight. But I just don't think Silva's going to land the submission. And I think that when you match forward pressure from a guy like Durden to forward pressure to a guy like Silva, Durden's going to win the forward pressure game here. So for me, I got to take Cody Durden. I'm not super confident in it. Like I said, the style that Silva has is a really tough one for a style like Durden's, just because if you're shooting a ton of takedowns, you are open to get subbed at some point. So we've also seen Durden, though. Last thing I want to put in there. We've also seen him just grit through submissions when it's in deep, doesn't matter, and he just grits through it. So even though he does get subbed sometimes, and like that's how he loses, he's gritty. So I could see him making it through. I'm taking Durden, but I'm gonna sit back and watch this one. I'm gonna kick my feet up on the coffee table, crack open a nice cold root beer, and just enjoy. So I will see you guys in the next fight. But let me know what you think. I'm really excited about this fight, and let me know if you think this is gonna be fight of the night. Matchup at 155 pounds. Kurt Holobaugh takes on Kaynan Kruschewsky. Kruschewsky is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He's coming off that brutal knockout loss that he took at 165 pounds on short notice. Stepped in there and just got absolutely demolished. And it'll be interesting to see how he bounces back from that, and if that kind of messes with his psyche coming into this fight, and if he's a little hesitant at the starting bell, right? Because something I'm gonna go off on a bit of a tangent, not a long one, but something we heard even Gabriel Bonfim, who won last weekend, we heard him mention that knockout loss kind of made him hesitant at first, and you saw that in the fight. He was a little bit afraid to let the hands go right away, like his first time being knocked out. And that one wasn't even nearly as bad as the one for Kruschewsky. That guy was flattened, and it was definitely brutal. So for Kruschewsky, we'll see if that really, kind of alters the way he fights at the beginning of the fight. Ultimately for Bonfim, he got the job done last week, so maybe it's not that big of a deal, but it's something to take note of, right? So 4-1 in the last 5 for Kruschewsky, 3-2 for Holobaugh. Big age discrepancy here, and it's really not big in number of years, but it's where they're at in their career. We've got a 37-year-old with 28 pro fights. We've got a 33-year-old with 17 pro fights. Now, at 37 years old, Holobaugh can drop off at any time as far as like what he's got left in the tank. Now, he's looked, yes, in his last matchup, he's held down like the whole time, but he didn't look like he was just an old guy in there, right? He might have been, he was stuck on bottom, don't get me wrong. He didn't do anything offensively once he was taken down, but you didn't go in there and say, oh, that's a guy that can't fight anymore based on his age. But that could happen at any time at 37, especially in the 155-pound division. You find a guy that's essentially in his prime, towards the later side of his prime, but still in his prime in Kruschewsky. Let's get to the skills. For Kruschewsky, good striking, good forward pressure, good combinations, volume, power. The guy's coming in there looking to take your head off. In the grappling, I think he's more of a jiu-jitsu guy than he's shown so far. He's got good elbows from ground and pound, but he's also willing to pull the guard for the guillotine. He does look for submissions in the grappling, looks for him off his back. He gets on top. It's more ground and pound from the top side, but he will still go for a submission if you give it to him. On the other side, Kurt Holobaugh, more well-rounded, I would say. He's a solid striker, good long jab, good footwork, counter strikes well, good combinations. In grappling, the dude's jiu-jitsu is fantastic. He's very safe on top. He's got good ground and pound. He's very active from his back typically. Now, Trey Ogden neutralized that, but that's just more of a testament to Trey Ogden than anything. He's a very good submission threat, but the problem is his takedown defense isn't exactly there. Now, we don't see Kruschewsky shoot a lot of takedowns. So that's something we see. He's going for the striking until you give him a grappling exchange or you duck your head and he goes for the guillotine. So I do think that actually favors Holobaugh. And because of that, I think he's going to be able to land the better strikes on the feet. And I do think that if it goes to the mat, Holobaugh is getting the takedown. So I'm taking Kurt Holobaugh. But like I said, the confidence is low for the simple fact that we just, at 37, you don't know when he's going to drop off. But on the other side, we don't know how Kruschewsky is going to come back after just being absolutely obliterated in that last matchup. And knockouts like that can change your career forever. So this is an interesting one with a lot of unknowns. I definitely recommend staying away from this fight from the betting perspective, but you guys let me know. Maybe you have a really hot take, or maybe you think I'm a silly goose for picking a 37-year-old at 155 pounds. That's okay, too. I'll see you guys in the next super exciting matchup here in the featherweight division. We have Seungwoo Choi taking on Steve Garcia. Seungwoo Choi is 2-3 in his last 5, but that 2-3 is a bit misleading because the guy has fought some pretty darn good competition in those fights. Steve Garcia, 4-1 in his last 5. The guy's on a tear. He's just knocking people dead, and that power is real. In this matchup, this is a good one. This should be fireworks from start to finish. I think we're going to get a lot of striking here. Both guys can wrestle. Let's break it down. For Seungwoo Choi, good striking, good power. It's the head kick and that power lead hook. Those are the two things that he's knocking guys out with. He also has a really good calf kick that he can work to accumulation. He'll land the kick, go back to the well, and keep doing what he needs to do. His striking defense is a bit of a liability for him, and that could be a problem against a guy like Steve Garcia. We'll cover that in a minute. But other than that, the striking is there offensively, and I think he does a good job with that. Decent wrestling. He can mix in takedowns for a change of pace, and he is really good at working back to his feet or working to top position if he is taken down himself. On the other side, Steve Garcia, he's a good striker as well. Primarily boxing, but he's got good power, good forward pressure, good volume. He's got really good footwork as well. Steve Garcia is kind of a guy that people don't think of as like this really good striker, but he's got darn good boxing. In the wrestling, he's good there as well. He's got great top pressure, pretty good takedown defense, and he's got really good ground and pound, and I think that comes with the powerful striking as well. So for me in this one, you got to assume somebody's getting knocked out, right? But as far as making a pick, I'm going to side with Steve Garcia. I think he's got the momentum going into this one. I think he's obviously the more active guy. And I think that if he hits Seungwoo Choi, whose striking defense is a bit suspect, I think he's probably putting him out. And if he doesn't, if he goes to the wrestling and we got a matchup there, I think he's the better wrestler. Even if it's just a little bit, I think Steve Garcia is going to get it done. Let me know what you guys think. I'd love to hear from you. We got some middleweights. Brad Tavares takes on Jeong Park. Park is 4-1 in his last 5, 2-3 for Tavares. Interesting matchup here because we get another one where we've got a guy that loves to get in a brawl, and that's Jeong Park. Yes, he's a grappler first, but don't let that fool you. The guy loves a brawl. Let's break this down. Jeong Park, good striker. He works the jab really well. He likes to just stick that jab, kind of keep the volume up. He's got really good dirty boxing. Don't know why I didn't really put that up there, but he's got really good dirty boxing. Ends up in brawls a lot, though. His striking defense isn't the best, and he's willing to just swing shots at you. But he's incredibly durable, and a lot of times those brawls will end up with him getting you into the cage push. And he has solid grappling, the cage push being a big part of it. Push up against the cage, controls you, uses that dirty boxing. That's what he does very well in fights where he can't get the fight to the mat. Now, he's got good takedown defense. I don't think he's getting taken down here. I don't think either guy's going to be getting takedowns here. If he does get to the mat, Jeong Park is a good back take, and he's a very good rear naked choke artist, right? That's his specialty. Now, for the other side, Brad Tavares, good striker as well. He's very durable as well. So if this brawl breaks out like I think it might, Brad Tavares is going to be in that brawl, and he's going to be doing all right. Good combinations, good leg kick. He has excellent counter wrestling, though, so his takedown defense is top tier, and I do not see Jeong Park being able to get this to the mat, so we are going to get the fight on the feet. The red flag for Tavares is he seems to lack the killer instinct that he needs to get finishes a lot of the time in the UFC. And for me, I think this is going to be a decision with a lot of punches thrown. A lot of these guys are going to be swinging wild at times, and I think it's going to come down to who's throwing more volume and who just looks to be the more active fighter. So I'm going to slightly lean Jeong Park in this one, but it's a good fight, tough fight, and I don't blame anybody for taking Tavares here because, like I said, Dude's got excellent counter wrestling, so it's not like Park's going to be able to get to his best part of his game. But also, he's a pretty good striker as well. So this is a good fight, close fight. I'll slightly lean Jeong Park, but let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, folks, main event of the evening. Do me a solid. If you haven't done it already, it's your last reminder. Like the video. Thank you so much, guys. And real quick, shout out to all the patrons and all of the channel members. You guys help keep the lights on. You keep the markers looking fresh like they do in this video. So thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Let's break this down. Amanda Lemos takes on Virna Jandiroba here in the women's strawweight division. Jandiroba 4-1 in her last 5 fights, 3-2 for Lemos. Both of these ladies, only 3 losses on the career. Both of these ladies have looked pretty gosh darn good, only losing to some of the better women in the division. When we look at this matchup, it is definitely striker versus grappler, and I know both of them can do the other thing, but it's clear one lady is going to have the grappling advantage, the other is going to have the striking advantage, and it's not going to be close. So for Virna Jandiroba, decent striking, right? It's basically just set up by her wrestling and her grappling. It's the forward pressure, it's the horrible striking defense, but durable is all get out, and the reason you get hit by her is because she's looking for those takedowns, and sometimes it opens up a shot. So striking isn't the best, but it is helped out a lot by the grappling threat because she's a very solid grappler. Got a large toolbox. She's very persistent with her takedowns. She's going to keep going for them until she gets them, and she doesn't care what she has to do to get to them. She's got good top control once she gets it there. In fact, getting back to your feet once Virna takes you down is very difficult because this woman has very good top control, but she also can take your back. She can threaten with submissions very well. She's got a good submission arsenal. She's incredibly good once the fight gets to the mat. On the other side, the opposite is true. Amanda Lemos, striker is what she is. She's got tons of power. She's got stick that jab, good counters. That hook off that counter hook is absolutely devastating. Extremely good leg kick, but she will get backed up, and that could be a problem in the Apex being a smaller cage. She will get backed up a little bit, and her output can be kind of iffy because she's usually trying to preserve that gas tank because her cardio has faded on her in the past, and that can be a problem for her. Her grappling is pretty good, and in fact, she's kind of safe once she gets on top. She does a good job of, minding her P's and Q's and not putting herself in a bad spot. She does have a quick guillotine, but I don't think that's going to work out against someone the grappling skill level of Virna Jandiroba. So ultimately for me, it's going to come down to, do I think Amanda Lemos can win this fight by keeping it on the feet, or do I think that Virna Jandiroba is going to get the takedowns and win the minutes or potentially get a submission? So for me, I see Lemos winning the first round, and then I see Virna taking over and getting takedowns at a pretty high clip for rounds 2 through 5 and winning a decision. And Lemos staying strong enough in there, safe enough to not get submitted, but Virna being able to control the minutes, 4 minutes of each round type of stuff. So I'm looking for Virna Jandiroba to get this one done by decision. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, I appreciate all of you. Like the video on your way out. Get yourself some merch. Get yourself, a channel membership. Get yourself a Patreon subscription. All that stuff. Get whatever you need to do. But we'll see you guys in the next one.